Hi, I'd like to speak a little bit about gender polarity now in numbers. Now, I'm not referring to the spectrum of gender, between the masculine and feminine that we have in our Western culture. I'm really just speaking about the two main creation energies of the masculine and feminine when they come together to create something. Now, according to the ancient laws of Hermetics, there are seven main principles, and one of them is something known as the law of gender, which is infused in all things. So if it's infused in all things, it must be infused in numbers as well. For example, we have the in and out, up or down, back or forth. And so all of this is gender polarity of the masculine and feminine. So numbers must also adhere to this main principle, this main Hermetic principle, in that gender must be infused in numbers. So when I first started looking at numbers, I looked at let's say the odd and even numbers, and I went back and forth many times trying to understand, is an even number masculine or feminine, or is an odd number masculine or feminine? And so what I did is I just went back to the early numbers, the first numbers, which is one, and maybe even before that, which is zero. Now, when we speak about creation, we have the concept of something is being created, and then we actually have the creation per se. So we have this dividing line, and so in numbers we can say there's a dividing line of when numbers start and when they, and then prior to that. So for me, I look at the prior state, which is the womb, which is where something is being created. And the womb for me is the zero. And its first creation is a one. So we have the zero and the one. So we have where something is being created in zero, and now we have the first created number, which is one. So how are they? Is one masculine or feminine? Is the zero even or odd? Well, the one is an odd number, but is it masculine or feminine? So if we look at the zero as the womb, and the womb is feminine, then we can kind of say, well, maybe then the one is masculine. And in fact, they look like that. The zero looks like a womb, and the one looks like a phallic. So that just makes sense. So then as I follow that forward, basically even numbers are feminine, masculine numbers are odd. And what I see with even numbers is that there is a stillness in them, that they are balanced. And so the feminine is still. That is feminine energy, it is still. And masculine energy is directed and active. And that is an odd number because the odd number is seeking balance. So we have the even number is feminine, masculine number as odd. So this pertains a little bit, I suppose, to numerology, where people look at their birth dates and their names, and they reduce it to a single digit, between 1 and 9. And we can look at those numbers as well and see that they are there's more of an active masculine energy in us, or maybe a more feminine energy in us in terms of our life path numbers. What I did as well is not just looking at those, but looking at not just looking at the gender polarity of individual digits, but looking at the concept of patterns and cycles, and is a cycle or a part of a cycle masculine or feminine? Well, for example, we have a 24-hour clock, and we have two cycles. We have two 12-hour cycles. We have basically a day cycle and a night cycle. So we can see it's infused in our time, in our notion of time within a single day. Now, the Fibonacci series is a very famous pattern in mathematics, and it depicts, or it represents, the concept of spiral. So it is a mathematical representation of the geometric patterns of spirals. So spiral galaxies, the spirals in seashells, the spirals in sunflower seed patterns. So this pattern, this mathematical pattern, where we have this progression of numbers in a very specific way, where each number in the Fibonacci series is the sum of the two previous numbers. And so other patterns have been found in the Fibonacci series. And a well-known pattern is a pattern of 24 reduced numbers. And what I mean by reduce is that the Fibonacci series goes something like this. It goes 1, 1, 3, 5, 8, 13. But if you take that 13 and you reduce it to a single digit, you have 1 plus 3 equals 4. And the next number after 13 is 21. And we can reduce that to a 3. And the next number after that is 34. We could reduce that to a 7. So we can keep reducing these numbers in the Fibonacci series. Even though it's growing very, very large, we can reduce it to a single digit. And somebody noticed a long time ago that there's actually a pattern of 24 repeating numbers. And what I was able to find out within this pattern is that there's a feminine aspect to that cycle and there's a masculine aspect to that cycle. And what it allowed me to do was to relate this concept of a mathematical representation of form, which is the spirals in objects, to sound, and more specifically solfeggio frequencies. So the Fibonacci series is a subset of a larger set of series, and what we know is as the solfeggio frequencies is also a subset of a larger set of solfeggio frequencies. So what was revealed to me over the last couple of years, I suppose, is how this form and sound are related mathematically by looking at the reduced numbers. Anyway, all of this is coming out probably in a few months' time in my book. And so the very specific details of that will be in the book. And I'll be speaking more about that when the book releases, and I'll have more information on my website as well. So stay tuned to find out more how gender polarity is infused in numbers and why it's really, really important in patterns for the understanding of mathematics and physics and science.